is Ecclesiasticus 27:1. Many have sinned for a small matter, and he that seeketh for abundance will turn his eyes away. As a nail sticketh fast between the joinings of the stones, so does sin stick close between buying and selling. I like to start off by saying Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahawashi, Kol Haloyim La Yahweh, Bahashem Yahawashi, Bahashem, Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that's scattered abroad, the Akim and the Aqua that's listening in. Yahweh Raptazah, Lord willing that the lesson is edifying. It's the brother Shawab Omawan back at you with another lesson. And going into the title, all right, the new Apple Hu-Manos C-HIP, all right, which OS goes into operating system, all right. And then after that, I put Hu-Manos, all right, because I started doing a little research, just trying to mess around with looking shit up. All right, because we know that Esau likes to, when he brings names out, when he names things, there's always something behind it, you know, something wicked behind it, a certain meaning to it. So when you look at the word, when you look at this new Hu-Manos C-HIP, all right, OS, when you combine it with human, says Hu-Manos, all right. And there's a lot of things in there. I can't figure it out yet, but I know this devil, he got something up his sleeve with it. You know what I'm saying? I found a couple things, but I know for sure in Spanish, manos means hands. All right. And I was looking up to see what the word HU means, you know, in different languages and things like that. You know, came across a couple things. One of the things I came up across was, I guess, an abbreviation of hookup. All right. Hooked up. You know, I looked at it, hooked up to the hands. Okay. Hooked up, you know, to this system. Okay. So we know that manos means hands in Spanish. All right. And manos, you know, we know that he's going to put this RFID, all right, into your hands. All right. So, you know, hooking it up to the hands, this RFID system. Okay. So, you know, that's just something I was just looking through the spirit at the end of the day, you know, thinking as a man. All right. But and looking at it in a spiritual point. All right. But, you know, this devil has what? He has this this technology. Okay. And this new Apple technology that he's coming out with is called the Hu-Manos C-HIP. All right. And I'm going to play a video real quick. All right. Concerning that. Okay. And then I'll grab a couple of things that I found in the web, you know, and then I'll close it out. I'm not gonna make it too long. All right, but let's grab the video I found right here. It says Apple introduces Hu-Manos C-HIP. All right, it's about 9 minutes long. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing. Let's just see how interesting it gets.
Hollywood millionaires have an unfair advantage with debt. Well, by the end of this short video, you'll have access to it too. Now, when most people think
Give
of
me 1
me,
second. Let me hook my my radio to this damn phone. And it's spiritual. See, the way we hook up these phones to Bluetooth and all that, you see, to be able to hear it out of speakers, this is how they're going to hook you up to the system. You know what I'm saying? Because we ourselves are like a Bluetooth, you know, being able to be connected to a system, you know, through Wi-Fi. Okay. But, all right, it's connected. Now let me play this video. All right. And this is what it looks like. Okay. And basically it's actually, you know, going into what I was speaking on the video before this one earlier, how they're going to be able to get rid of phones and you yourself is going to become a phone. So they're trying to tell you that your whole arm could turn into a phone if they wanted to, man. You know, be able to have, you know, a projector screen come out of your damn hand, you know, being able to, you know, bring out holograms and things like that. So, you know, hey, the spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah is working through men. All right, for us to be able to see these things, you know, with a spiritual eye. All right, and being able to, you know, break these things down. So let's play this out.
Phone without an iPhone, where the screen, according to several sources in Silicon Valley, including people who previously worked with Apple,
and what's crazy I used to say this years back through the spirit, just speaking, you know, in a spiritual sense. You know, Christianity teaches you that when it came to Adam and Eve, right? Adam bit the apple when there's not even a freaking an apple mentioned in the scriptures. It speaks about a fruit, but the fruit represented philosophies, right? So it's funny that you actually see the internet, all right? The internet started way back in computers with Macintosh. That's what it used to be called, a Macintosh, all right? And a Macintosh is actually an apple, all right? And if you look at the apple, the sign for Apple, all right, when it comes to Apple products, it has an apple with a bite in it. So, you know, the fact that, you know, there was never an apple mentioned in the scriptures in Genesis, but it was a fruit, all right? And the fruit represented philosophy, okay? If you look at it in a spiritual sense, all right, apple with a bite mark in it, all right, is you biting into that philosophy, okay? And then what do you find on the internet? You find a bunch of philosophies. That's all you find on the internet. That's why the internet is so scary, because the internet is just filled with demons, different philosophies to make you go off. And this is why you have to have the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, which is going to be the stability of thy times, you see? So it's just funny that, you know, computers started with Macintosh, all right? It was an apple with a bite mark in it, okay? And here it is. They'll try to, you know, with philosophy, they'll try to brainwash you with Adam and Eve, that Adam bit apple, and, you know, all this bugged out shit, you know, just looking at it on the spiritual point as a man, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's something I've always spoke about. And, you know, Apple, all right, just technology, period, is a bunch of philosophies, man, put into one thing, you know? It's just a way the internet itself is created to have, you know, to brainwash you and manipulate you with different philosophies. All right. And Apple products have nothing but internet attached to it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something to look upon it. All right. And what man reminded me was just this little apple that I seen right here in the beginning. All right. But let's play that again.
Semiconductor supply chains and related R&D contractors, the company has entered a deeply closed development phase of a fundamentally new product that inside the corporation is described not as a device, not as an accessory, and not even as a continuation of the iPhone or Vision lineup, but as a new level of human technology convergence. And this wording, according to insiders, is increasingly used in closed internal presentations. The project involves a special computing module informally referred to as a wearable neural interface, which in its concept and purpose really resembles Elon Musk's Neuralink, but at the same time fully fits Apple's DNA because it does not require surgery, implants, or direct contact with the brain. Unlike Musk's approach, which relies on directly connecting neurons to silicon, Apple, according to sources, has chosen a more subtle and more scalable path.
And we told
to blur
you
the boundary between the human body.
And we told you this shit was gonna happen, yo. All right, that they're gonna come out with all different types of technologies surrounded around that same thing. All roads lead to what? To the MOTB. So they're gonna come out with all these different type of technologies, all right, to try to, you know, suck you in, draw you in. See, this is going back to Habakkuk 1 and 15, all right? When they throw all these different type of baits on their hooks, all right? And he's trying to reel you into his net, you see? Let's grab this real quick. This is Psalms, the 10th chapter, all right? This is Psalms 10 and let's grab it from 2. The wicked in his pride does persecute the poor. Let them be taken in the devices that they have imagined. For the wicked boasted of his heart's desires and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord Yahweh abhorreth. Right? Now I'm going to drop down to 9. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He does catch the poor when he draweth him into his net. Okay? He croucheth and humbleth himself, that the poor may fall by his strong ones. Okay? So going to Habakkuk, all right, 1 and 15, okay? It says, they take up all of them with the angle, they catch them in their net and gather them in their drag, therefore they rejoice and are glad. All right. So again, all right, as a matter of fact, let me finish reading. It says, therefore they sacrifice onto their net and burn incense onto their drag, because by them their portion is fat and their meat plenteous. All right, plenteous. Okay. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations? Okay. So again, they have all these different types of baits that they're putting on their net, on their hooks. Okay. Remember, as the prophets are out there fishing for the elect, see, these niggas is out here fishing for the ones that are weak-minded, all right, to draw them into their net of wickedness. We're drawing the elect into the net of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, all right, because those are of the elect. And then they are drawing the ones that are weak-minded, feeble-minded, okay, mortal-minded, all right, into their net of wickedness, you see, which is ultimately these different types of technologies, these different types of philosophies, all right, and you know, it's going to lead back to one thing, this MOTB, this RFID. Okay. So let's go back to that video.
Body and the interface, not through an operation, but through everyday use, chosen a more subtle and more scalable path to blur the boundary between the human body and the interface, not to silicon. Apple, according to sources, has chosen a more subtle and more scalable path to blur the boundary between the human body and the interface, not through an operation, but through everyday use, turning the human arm itself into a computing and control platform, essentially creating an iPhone without an iPhone, where the screen, buttons, and casing are no longer mandatory elements. Based on descriptions obtained by
making an iPhone without an iPhone, right? That's gonna be you. That's gonna be the human. He gonna turn you into an iPhone without having an iPhone around you, man. You see?
From the supply chain. This is a compact next-generation chip embedded in a special bracelet or cuff worn on the forearm and operating in combination with projection technologies, an AI assistant, and a neuromuscular signal recognition system that reads micro-movements, impulses, and the electrical activity of the arm muscles. This technology is not science fiction. Moreover, its core elements already exist, from solutions in the field of electromyography to experiments by Meta and startups working on interface control through thought-like signals without implants. However,
security or IT degrees been on your mind.
And that's gonna be a big talk this year. It's gonna be brain interface. All right, that's what you're gonna hear a lot of. Brain interface. Okay.
Is reportedly the first to attempt to combine all of this into a single consumer product, capable of scaling to hundreds of millions of users. Sources claim that inside the company, the project is informally viewed as a potential post-iPhone product, meaning a technology that does not simply complement the smartphone, but over time may replace the very concept of a pocket screen. And this explains why work on it began now, rather than 10 years ago, when Apple still had absolute dominance in the smartphone market. According to analysts at Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan, who in recent quarters increasingly speak about stagnation in the global phone market, Apple, for the first time in many years, has found itself in a situation where its historic advantages, ecosystem and design, are no longer an unbreakable barrier. Chinese manufacturers have learned to produce devices of comparable quality, and AI has become an equalizing factor that allows competitors to catch up and even surpass Apple in user experience. Sources in Asia note that within Apple, a troubling idea is voiced more and more often. A regular iPhone is no longer enough to retain the audience, and it is this concern, rather than pure technological ambition, that became the main catalyst for launching the project.
Yeah, and why can't that shit entertain the population anymore, man? Because that shit has been worn out. They done brought phone after phone, technology after technology, iPhone after iPhone. So now they have to spark the people up in a new fashion, in a new way, in a new idol, in a new world order. You see how it all goes hand in hand, how it just makes more sense every day. All right. So that's why now no longer you're going to have to need, you're not going to need a phone no more. You yourself is going to be the new technology. You're going to be the new phone through transhumanism. All right.
Yes, this year the company really is preparing to introduce a foldable iPhone, as reported by Bloomberg and The Information. But inside Apple, this product is seen as a tactical rather than strategic step that can only temporarily sustain interest without changing the overall trajectory. A completely new device category is what can return the company to the status of an unquestioned leader. And this is exactly where the idea of turning the human arm into an interface emerges. According to insiders, the concept looks as follows. The user puts a device on their arm that contains a specialized chip with a neural network accelerator connected to an AI model that operates either locally or through Apple's secure cloud, while all visual output is projected either onto the palm, into the space in front of the user, or through
and that shit is all spiritual, man, because see, through that cloud, that's how they're going to be able to transfer the data. You see, because and it's all spiritual. They're trying to play the Lord. They're trying to play the role of the Lord, because what happened when Moses was on the Mount Sinai, right? And he had and the cloud came, right? And he received data, basically. He received information. What was the information he received in that cloud, right? When he was on Mount Sinai, he received the law, statutes, and commandments, all right, of what man was supposed to do, our people were supposed to abide by, right? Well, this devil has his own cloud in the firmament, all right, where he's able to store data. He's able to transfer data. You see, this nigga's literally trying to play the role of the Lord on a whole nother level, man. Okay.
With next generation augmented reality glasses. Control is carried out not through a screen, but through micro movements of the fingers, gestures, muscle tension, and contextual commands that the AI interprets even before the user consciously formulates an action. And this is exactly where sources draw a parallel with Neuralink, because the ultimate goal is the same, to reduce the delay between intention and execution to the lowest possible level. According to one former Apple engineer involved in early research, the philosophy of the project is stated very clearly. The technology...
The fact that he used philosophy, and I said that earlier in the video, is wild. See, because everything is based on philosophy with this damn devil. You see? And at the end of the day, it's all based on what? You know, hypothesis, educated guess, scientific answers. You know? That's why the scriptures... Let's grab that. That's why the scriptures say... not to be caught up in science. All right. Let me see. That's in I think it's First Timothy 1:20, is it? And science so-called. I got it right here. Hold on. It wasn't that. This is First Timothy 6:20. Right? And it says, O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane. See, and what's committed to thy trust? This word, man. YAHAWAH'S, YAHAWAH'S. Right? It says, avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. When you go into that word science, it goes into pseudo, you know, pseudomos, I believe it goes. Let me see. Let me just make sure. All right. And that's them getting caught up. That's us getting caught up in that pseudoscience, man. Okay? Pseudo technology. All right? That word science goes into pseudomos. Right? Pseudonymos.
Strong's G 5581. Pseudonymous.
All right? And then that goes into
Strong's G 5571. Sudace.
All right? And that means what? So it says what was this word again? Pseudonymous.
Strong's G 5581. Pseudonymous.
So dunamos, right?
Pseudonymous
means falsely named. Okay? And science, we know science is bullshit, man. All right. Now there is certain types of science, science to things where we're able to invent certain things, and yeah, that that's a certain type of level of intelligence that the Lord has given us. All right. But see, science only goes so far, and then comes YAHAWAH'S. All right. And then science, is an intelligence given to us by YAHAWAH'S, not because these niggas made it up. You see. So it says falsely named, right? And then when you go into that word, the root word of that, it goes into pseudis, right? And it goes into lying, deceitful, false, okay? Strong's definition says erroneous, all right? Deceitful and wicked. So science, and it says untrue also. So science itself is just deceitful, and it's a wicked philosophy, man. All right, it's untrue. Okay, another word that comes out of that, all right, is pseudomaya.
G 5574. Pseudomai.
And it says to lie, to speak deliberately falsehoods, to deceive one by a lie, to lie to. You see, and we know. See, this is who's the one that is the creator of all these different philosophies and science and all. Esau, man, because Esau is the father of lying. All right, like it tells you in John the 8th chapter, the 44th verse. All right, he was let me just grab that real quick. All right, John 8 and 44, and it says, "Ye are of your father," and we was and this was being spoken to the Israelites, right, that wanted to follow after the lust of Esau, basically, right? It says, you are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning, and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. This is the point. When he speak a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. And because I tell you the truth, you believe me not. See, so he is the father of lies, man. Okay, so everything that comes out of this devil's mouth is a lie, as the scriptures say. The wicked is estranged from the womb. Soon as they be born, they come out speaking lies. All right, they have this technology of NASA. NASA goes into Nasa, which means to deceive, to also lie to you. So everything in NASA is lies. Okay. Everything this devil has, and every type of philosophy he has, is based on lies, man. Everything he does is based on lies. There is no truth in him. Okay, this is why the Lord tell you not to trust your enemy, man. All right, so let's continue on. It's about 4 minutes left in this video.
He must disappear. Only the result should remain. And this Neuralink, because the ultimate goal is the same, to reduce the delay between intention and execution to the lowest possible level. According to one former Apple engineer involved in early research, the philosophy of the project is stated very clearly. The technology must disappear. Only the result should remain. And this fully reflects the company's long-term strategy of hiding complexity behind simplicity. At the same time, it is emphasized that at the current stage, this is not a product ready for the mass market, but a long-term development whose first prototypes are still in the laboratory phase, and real demonstrations may only be possible in a few years. Holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift. However, the very fact that such a development has begun is already seen by the market as a signal that Apple is preparing for an era in which the smartphone is no longer the center of digital life. It is also important that, according to respected publications, Apple has sharply...
Yeah, that's not going to be the main attraction no more, because you yourself is going to be the main attraction. You see?
Increased investment in its own AI. The smartphone is no longer the center of digital life. It is also important that, according to respected publications, Apple has sharply increased investment in its own AI models, including closed versions independent of external providers. And this, according to analysts, is what makes such a product possible, because without deep AI integration, a hand-based interface simply would not work at the level the company expects. Sources in Cupertino claim that the project is directly linked to Apple's internal understanding of the threat posed by next-generation AI devices that may appear on the market in the coming years, from wearable assistants to completely screenless gadgets. And if Apple does not lead this transition, it risks becoming a follower, as has already happened with some technologies in the past. That is why within the company, the phrase reboot of the human user interface is being used more and more often. And although Apple publicly continues to focus on the evolution of the iPhone and vision, behind-the-scenes preparations are underway for a far more radical scenario. Analysts note that this approach fits...
And what's that going to be? It all roads lead to what? That RFID. You see? It all ties back to one thing, man. Them trying to get this technology in your body, all right? So they bring all these different baits and these different, devices to entertain you, to make you be in awe and wow, all right? But at the end, it's going to lead back to one thing, all right? They're going to be able to do all these little things onto one device itself, all right? And it's all going to be at the touch of your hand. It's going to be all in your mind, okay? The future is in your hands, you see?
Perfectly with the current moment, increasing computing power, chip miniaturization, breakthroughs in projection systems, and a dramatic leap in AI capabilities are creating a window of opportunity that may close as quickly as it opened, and Apple cannot afford to miss it. For this reason, many experts believe that the start of development on such a chip is not an experiment, but a necessary step driven by a shift in the balance of power in the market. And even if the first commercial versions of the device appear only closer to the end of the decade, the very fact that Apple is laying the foundation now shows that the company is preparing for a world where familiar technologies stop being familiar and the boundary between human and device becomes increasingly blurred. In this context, the ARM iPhone project looks not like a fantasy, but as a logical continuation of the very idea Apple began with, making technology as close to the human being as possible. Ooh. And if the sources are right, this may mark the beginning.
See that? It was made to make, what do you say? Right? To make the human being...
It's a logical continuation of the very idea Apple began with, making technology as close to the human being as possible.
He wanted to make the technology as close to the human being as possible. So from the beginning, when Apple when Apple came out with their first product, all right, in all reality, there was something behind that whole entire technology to begin with. It was always created and designed to eventually get you to be close to the technology. How? By you being able to connect with it, showing you that this devil created this device, all right, to destroy you to begin with. So all the shit in between the time that they have made their first product all the way till now was just to brainwash you and suck you in to that technology, to make you be in what? And all and wows, like, whoa, this is amazing. This is an amazing technology. I can't believe we could do things like this. But in all reality, it wasn't about no money. It wasn't about making life better. It wasn't about being able to, bring more information to you. It was made and designed to destroy you and connect you to it, to use it as a power, as a god, you see, as a digital god, to make you sin before your maker, you see. And this is what John the Revelator saw in his vision, you see. And now that the prophets are up, woke, and the Lord has increased us with knowledge more than he's ever increased anybody else in history or in the ancient world, now we can break it down to you to the T of what this devil's mindset is about, man. This shit is crazy as hell.
Sources are right. This may mark the beginning of a new era where the interface is no longer kept in a pocket, but worn as part of one's own body.
Yeah, because you are going to be the interface. Let me see what that word, I forgot. Because I know through computer, like when I used to record music, you needed an interface to control. Without an interface, you cannot record your music. Without a computer with an interface, you cannot connect. You cannot bring nothing up. You see? So the interface is that domain that connects, puts all things together. You see? So let me see what that word interface goes into. Definition of interface. You said interface. I didn't say interface. I said interface. Definition of interface. A point where two systems, objects, organizations meet and interact. Okay, so like I said, like when I used to do music, you had to have the interface in order for you to bring my voice, my music together through the computer to combine it and make the song. You see, so you are going to be the interface to be able to take the technology, their system, to combine it together. You see, for you to be into the transhumanism. Okay, it says computing, a device or program enabling a user to communicate with a computer. You see, so you yourself being the interface, now they're able to record your thoughts. You're able to communicate with the computer, the main domain, okay, of everything, right? It says verb, interact with another system, person, or organization. You see, computing, connect with another computer or piece of equipment by an interface. Okay. What does interface really mean? Okay, a situation, way, or place where two things come together and affect each other. A connection between two pieces of electronic equipment or between a person and a computer. Woo! The interface between two subjects or systems is in the area in which they affect each other or have links with each other. You see? Man, you can't make this up, bro. And this is a cut on all you niggas that keep playing around with the word of the Lord, trying to mislead our people and say that the RFID, all right, is not the microchip, man. I mean, it's not the MOTB, the mark of the beast, okay? It is very well the mark of the beast, okay? It's going to be a thing, all right, that's going to be implanted into your hand, all right? Subdermal, literally into your hand. A physical mark, okay? It ain't no fucking embargo. It ain't no white women. It ain't the church. It ain't all these bugged out philosophies that these people got, man. It's right here in your face. And if you can't see it, it's because you're going to line up for it. The Lord going to destroy you with it. You see? Let's go back to that. It's about a minute left. Minute and a half.
Is this shift, changing not only the continuation of the very idea Apple began with, making technology as close to the human being as possible, and if the sources are right, this may mark the beginning of a new era where the interface is no longer...
So basically, the computer was created for that to begin with. The computer was never created for us to, you know, browse through it and have all this information and have all these social media platforms. It was really created just to be connected to you at one point, you see. And then Yahweh Bashim Yahushai's eyes, he gave them the technology to create the computer for us to be able to give you the message and the warning to preach the word throughout the four corners of the earth, and then the end will come, you see.
You're kept in a pocket, but worn as part of one's own body. And it may be Apple that launches this shift, changing not only the market, but the very way people interact with the digital world. That is why more and more experts are paying attention to the fact that in recent months, Apple has begun to behave unusually cautiously in its public statements, while at the same time acting unusually aggressively in its closed-door investments, especially in the areas of neural interfaces, sensor technologies, and alternative input methods. And this rarely happens without a clear understanding of an upcoming shift. According to sources familiar with discussions at the board level, the question increasingly heard inside the company is not what the next iPhone will be like, but whether an iPhone in its current form is needed at all in 5 or 10 years. And if this question is being asked seriously, it means Apple already envisions a future where the screen is no longer the center of interaction and the human being becomes the interface. That is why the development of such a chip is seen not as a product for early enthusiasts, but as a potential foundation for a new ecosystem that may eventually replace familiar devices, just as the iPhone once replaced button phones. And if these leaks are even partially confirmed, then we are witnessing not just another stage in the evolution of technology, but the beginning of a slow, almost imperceptible transition into a world where the boundary between a person and the digital environment is finally erased.
Man, that's wild right there. Hold on, they got some good shit. U.S. stuns the world with robots indistinguishable from humans. Let me save that in my
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it just by thinking
hold
about
on real quick. Let me just save that.
44. We continue to break down the most interesting and illustrative projects at CES 2026.
All right, so and that's just wild what we just heard, man. You can't make this up, bro. All right, the water Yahweh Bashem Yahushai for giving us the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to see these things and to break these things down to the hopeful elect, man. All right, we at the end of this thing, man. This shit is here, okay? But with that being said, let me just grab the things that I had looked up, all right, going into Hu-Manos, all right, which means operating system, but when you put it together, it says Hu-Manos, all right? And this is what I kind of found, you know, through the spirit. I'm sure I'm positive more is going to come out on it within time, all right? Because the Lord keeps exposing, all right? But let me see. What I found was, let me see. Okay. When I put all that together, it spells Hu-Manos, all right? And Hu-Manos, I already said, in Spanish, manos means hands, all right? Hue, I couldn't really find much on it. The closest I found, something that I found on it, there was a couple things that it broke down with Hue, all right? But one of them that caught my attention was hookup, all right? Which, you know, we're going to be hooked up in the hands, manos, to this device, right? But it says Hu-Manos, Spanish, Portuguese. It says means humans, referring to people or beings of species, Homo sapiens, encompassing biological traits like bipedalism and large brains. That's what caught my attention right there. Okay, large brains, because once you are connected to this system, that's what you're pretty much going to be to these damn devils, is a large ass brain. You see, us being connected to it together, okay, is all our brains being connected into one place and making it one large brain. You see, because this devil wants to tap into your thoughts. Okay, it says as well as qualities like compassion and intellect, representing humanity and human experiences. It can also describe being supportive, caring, and related to humankind in general. Okay, now another thing I seen, all right, so the point was on there was large brains, right? Then I put in the term? What is the real hidden meaning behind the term human OS? It says the term human OS is a metaphor used across across different fields to refer to the underlying frameworks, mental processes, and belief systems that dictate human thought, human behavior, and interaction with the world. Remember, this devil wants to what? Tap into your thoughts. He wants to be able to control your behaviors. And when you go off in your behavior, he shuts you down. He's just he takes away, you know, we're going to be connected to a social credit score system and you know, universal basic income, all that. So he's going to be able to deactivate you from all that, right? It says the hidden meaning is not a single secret definition, but rather an invitation to understand, okay, and actively manage these subconscious and conscious systems to unlock one's full potential. Okay, so that's what the transhumanism comes into play. You know, they're gonna try to see, we were already gods, okay, but now they want to make you gods according to you being hooked up to their technology, you know, basically being cyborgs. Okay, that's another reason why this devil, that's a spirit right there. I'm thinking about it now. That's another reason why this devil wants to be able to tap into your brains, because we are gods according to YAHAWAH'S. We were gods at one point, but we were stripped from that power. So we're gonna go back to being gods, you see? So he wants to know what it's like to be in a god's mind, you know, and we're not saying gods we're over YAHAWAH'S. Absolutely not. YAHAWAH'S is the power of all things, you see. But the Lord said in the scriptures, do you not know that we are gods? Okay, so we were gods, we were many gods, okay, and he wants to be able to tap into that source, okay, and that's why he tries to act like he's a god when he don't have that power. You see, the Lord ain't choose you to be his royal priesthood. The Lord rejected you, okay. So it says the concept can be broken down into several meanings depending on the context in which it is used. In psychology and personal development, the human OS, all right, operating system refers to the set of psychological mechanisms, including neural networks, neural link, emotional regulation, controlling your thoughts, your patterns, knowing your emotions, right? Cognitive what's this word? Biases. There you go. Cognitive biases and ingrained beliefs that shape an individual's perception and response to their environment. What? And it's basically going into shaping you into their image, you see, and response to their environment. The hidden meaning here is that by becoming self-aware, one can reprogram these default settings to achieve greater emotional balance and resilience and personal fulfillment, often referred to as human destiny, development, or core essence, Salakia, my bad, or core essence, you see? So this devil, all right, wants to reprogram you. That's what that whole Genesis mission is about, you see? Being able to create man in their image, okay? Yo, that's just bugged right here, bro. When you look, you'll search, you'll find, okay? In leadership or organizational culture. In a business context, the human OS operating system is described as the emotional and psychological engine. You see? Because that's what we are. We're the engine to the whole thing. You see? It says of a team or organization. The meaning emphasizes the effective leadership requires the meaning emphasizes that effective leadership requires understanding intrinsic human motivators like purpose, autonomy, It says, and the need for psychological safety rather than just relying on external rewards and technical systems. And technology and futurism in this field, the term Hu-Manos is evolving from a metaphor to a literal concept for advanced human-machine interaction. You see, transhumanism, where technology is designed to adapt to human empathy, nonverbal cues, and emotional nuance rather than the other way around. Okay. In philosophy and sociology, here the Hu-Manos metaphor is used to explore how our minds are structured by societal operating systems. Okay, and you see how our minds are structured by just the platforms that we get are given onto us, man. You know, in today's society, these platforms that we have, Facebook, Instagram, them shits basically, they structure you, all right, and to your ways, right? They're already molding you in the ways they want just through those systems themselves, man. Okay, it says oh damn, I cut it off, but you get the point on that. All right, now let's see, I got another one that says human operating systems, right? The interface between your mind, okay, between your mind. All right, it says the idea of human operating systems is an interesting metaphor to start thinking about how our minds are structured. All right, but what caught my attention was human operating systems, the interface between your mind. Check this out. When you go into the word, right, foreheads in Revelations 13-16, all right, this caught my attention. Revelations 13-16, it goes into the word foreheads, goes into metapon. Okay, metapon means the space between the eyes, the forehead, all right, which is right here. And then when you go into metapon, it goes into meta, which means with, after, behind. So the space between your eyes, which is your forehead, and then what's behind the space between your eyes? Your mind, okay? Make it, that's what's going to connect you basically to that metaverse, okay? So it was just something that stuck out to me, okay? When it said the interface between your mind, yeah, because metapon is going to be that interface basically in between your eyes, in between your mind. Okay, let me see, I went into it. It said human operating systems, the interface between your mind, your body, and the things in the world. Okay, it says the idea of human operating system is an interesting metaphor to start thinking about how our minds are structured and how our relationships with the world and society and with our body are structured. There is hardly anything on this term in the academic literature. There are a few articles on human-robot interaction, which have the notion of a mental operating system. If you Google the term, you will find that the term is widely used in some spaces, primarily among futurists who are thinking about how to create a sustainable human civilization based on what? Based on technology. Okay, you will find a lot of very interesting discussions of this notion. All right, let's see, hold on. You will find a lot of very interesting discussions of this notion of a human operating system on the internet in various blogs and websites, and even some videos. Some people are trying to develop a new human operating systems through collective video gaming or so forth, in which you learn to cooperate, all right, to build a new world rather than just always fight against each other. Also, some other concept, and why they want to do that? Because see, the Lord hates a particular people. He hates Esau, he loved Jacob. And these other nations he could care less about. So they want to put it to into a structure where we're all combined as one people. That's what that goes into this new world order: a one world government, a one world religion, a one world this, a one world that. You see, they just trying to overstep the bound, the ways of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. You bug outs for that shit, bro. See, this is why we can't. This is why we throw curses on Esau on a daily basis, man. Because he just destroys everything that the Lord has set up on earth, man. You see, but no matter what you try to do, the Lord gonna destroy you, and it's still gonna be the same way it was always, you know, prophesied to be. You see. So it says, also some other concepts of human operating systems focus on sustainability, and how to create good, healthy workplaces. There are some beginnings of theorization of what an operating system is, and as far as a human being is concerned. All of these discussions have something in common with what I am trying to say, but at this stage, I am using this concept in an experimental way. I have written elsewhere that humanity needs a new operating system. All right, and that's why they want to bring in a new world order. This new world order is pertaining to this new operating system, a new way of living. You see, as an anthropologist, all right, why did I decide to use this term instead of some other terms that are more widely used in anthropology and in sociology, right? Let me see. Oh damn, I didn't even freaking, that's whack. I didn't screenshot the rest of that. But again, you get the point. All right, which I only got 2 more pieces that I screenshotted. It says Hu-Manos. I put that word Hu-Manos in there, okay, which I read earlier. But when I put it in a second time, it came out in a different meaning in an AI overview. It says Hu-Manos, Spanish, Portuguese for humans, refers to the species Homo sapiens, but also to various products, concepts, and even a Portuguese musical group, including including corporate wellness platforms. Hu-Manos, improving employee well-being, a human in the loop API for AI compliance, and a streetwear brand promoting inclusivity. No, I can't even get it. Inclusivity. All right, Salakia. Highlighting diverse uses of the word, the context often defines whether it means people, a tech system, or a cultural entity. Okay. What else did I find in here that was interesting? It says technology and businesses, Hu-Manos, health wellness, a platform offering coaching, masterclasses, and habit tracking to improve employee health, reducing absenteeism, Salakia. All right, some of these words get me, right? But the point is habit tracking. See, because they want to track your every move. Okay. And then what else did I see here? I found something at the end that it said in summary. All right. It says Hu-Manos is a versatile term, most literally meaning humans, but often used in branding for tech, meaning technology, wellness, and cultural products that aim to connect with or improve the human experience, according to Hu-Manos, health, wellness, and Hu-Manos, music. Okay, so it's really, all right, that word that you see, all right, Hu-Manos, when you put it together, it's, you know, it has a bigger meaning than what we think it is. All right, and it'll be revealed through time, through the spirit. You know, this is just the first time you're really seeing this come up, this new Apple human operating system, CHIP. Okay, and remember, this devil likes to put words together and they actually mean something. Okay, that's why the elders tell you what, man, Words have root words. You got to learn how to look into these words. When you see certain words, you just got to look it up. Put it in the word etymology online. Look up the definition. See what comes up, you know, because these things mean certain things, you know. But, you know, basically, like I said, Hu-Manos, okay, but often used in branding for technology, okay. And what are we going to be? Branded with technology. It's no, you can put it together nice and easy. You see, it says wellness and cultural products that aim to connect with or improve to connect with humans or to improve the human experience, which that's what this devil wants to do. He wants to reprogram you. All right. And he wants to, you know, take the human experience to another level, an experience according to technology. You see, you cannot make this thing up, man. This devil is the devil that the Bible speaks of, man, because only a devil will try to do these things on earth, man, and have a certain agenda behind it. You see, ain't no Jake thinking about this shit. Only Esau would think about that. As the scriptures say, he make a diligent search. Let's grab that, right? He makes a diligent search. This is Psalms 10 and 5, right? Psalms 10 and 5. It says, his ways are grievous, thy judgments are far above. Okay, matter of fact, let's take it from 4. The wicked through the pride of his countenance, because that's what he's got a whole lot of pride in him right now, will not seek after Yahweh. Yahweh is not in all his thoughts. All right, he doesn't fear the Lord. That's why he's sitting there trying to make the Lord himself. He's literally trying to make himself like he's the Lord himself, because he has no fear. His ways are always grievous. Okay, thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. He has said in his heart, mind, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud, and under his tongue is mischief and vanity. Okay, meaning what? Trouble and evil are on the tips of his tongue. Okay, it says he sitteth in the lurking places of the villages. In the secret does he murder the innocent. His eyes are privily set, okay, against the poor. All right, those that are helpless, man. All right, that's why most of these 2/3, you know, a lot of these 2/3 gonna end up, you know, they're gonna end up lining up for it. Okay, a third of the 2/3 is gonna line up for it, man. At the end of the day, it says, he lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth in wait to catch the poor. He does catch the poor when he draws them into his net. You see, and how's he drawn you into his net in these days? The internet drawed you all into that internet and all to this world of devices. You know, and this is why we say we are not ignorant to Satan's devices, man. You see, but hey, that's pretty much the point. Just wanted to touch up on that. When I seen that, you know, I was like, oh shit, here goes another lesson. You know, got to make a lesson on it ASAP. Okay, so be prepared to hear more about it. All right, and see what's going on, and the Lord's going to expose even more on it through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai. So Lord willing, you were edified. Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. Call Haloim La Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai B'Hashem. Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered abroad. The Akim and the Akwat that was listening in. Yahweh Ratazah, Lord willing that the lesson was edifying. To the next one, Shalom. Keep fighting the good fight of faith and doing as good soldiers of Yahweh Shai. Shalom.